the security dialogue.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You are welcome once again to the Security Dialogue on Muslim Television Ahmadiyya International. We promise to bring you the concluding part on the topic terrorism as religious imperative. Now, in the first part, we outline the role of religion and the importance of it. Now we want to look at how various groupings are using the tool or religion as a tool to advance terror acts. And with me here, once again, I have Mr. Noah Fiadu Pogli, who is the Director of Communications for the Institute of Intelligence and Strategic Security here in Ghana. And also have Movi Faraz Yassin Rabbani, a missionary with the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission, Ghana, and also a member of the MTA team here in Ghana. Now, we're moving straight into the discussion. Mr. Fiadu Noah, the first part we outline and you share with us how religion is supposed to build cohesion and all of that. But in my opening statement, I made mention of something like nationalism. And some people, per their own religious background, also want to see themselves in pursuant to whatever that they demand from probably the state, will want to do that at the back of religion. So we want to understand that terrorism part that religion play when it comes to social justice, when it comes to peace and the world order.
Yeah, so terrorism is complex. Okay, even up to now, it's difficult to find a comprehensive definition of terrorism. So there's no existing, to cut all definition for terrorism. So people are still, wording it. So, but if you look at terrorism, it's just a use of violence means to achieve a political goal. And the use of violence means, or the use of terror to achieve an end. So if terrorism is the use of terror, then how does it play out? So when you mention nationalism, and before we look at nationalism, you have to look at ideologies. And ideologies are system of beliefs that justify human behaviors. So beliefs and practices that we can use to justify our action for something is an ideology.
Okay.
So whereas others have argued that terrorism is nothing new, it's nothing new because of ideologies. So different people have used ideologies to achieve a cause. So for instance, even in the history of Africa, the ANC, Nelson Mandela, were all classified as what? Terrorist organizations or terrorist individuals because of the ideology they were pursuing. Okay. And that was because
by the ruling elite.
By the ruling elite. Okay. That was because of the suppression, the segregation. Okay, so ideologies of, say, communism were propagated, and others who classify such ideologies or promoters of those ideologies as terrorists because they are fighting for a just cause, a political cause, and they are using Marxism, those ideologies to achieve a political cause. Then, of course, nationalism, we versus the them. So, for instance, in this society, there are people who believe that they were the originals. They were the aborigines. They were here before others came. And once they are here before they came, they are entitled to the land. They are entitled to the economic resources, the political resources. So for which reason, any majority that tries to suppress them, they will resist against that. That is nationalism. And it's an ideology. And when people want to achieve that, they can use violence to achieve that. Then religion comes in And religious ideologies are even the most sophisticated ideologies that you can ever deal with, because it has to do with beliefs and practices associated with what? The supernatural. So there's all over the world, there are religious ideologues. And religion being a tool, which we discussed earlier on, people use religion as a mobilizing force for violence, a mobilizing force for terror, a mobilizing force for terrorism. And that's what we're seeing all over the world.
Is that supposed to be the case?
It doesn't supposed to be the case, but because other forms of, other tools of achieving that goal or objective have failed them. If Marxism doesn't work, if nationalism doesn't work, they are resorting to religion because it's a low-hanging fruit. A low-hanging fruit because of how religion connects all of us. So it's a divisive force. So if you can use religion as, okay, for them, their beliefs and practices, okay, are deviating from the original beliefs and practices. So by so doing, you are trying to bring some people closer to you as against others that we believe that they are deviating from the real religious belief practices. Fundamentalism, extremism begin to occur. And as they occur, then violence as against them. You understand? So that's how terrorism is working. So most of the terrorist organizations, Al-Shabaabs, they have a political motive. Control a territory. In addition to that, they have other political motives. Boko Haram in northern Nigeria, they have other political motives. And all over the world.
So for instance, coming to Ghana, and with this fantastic explanation that you've given us, if you look at the conflicts that are hovering around, I mean, and in recent time, you look at northern parts of the country where we are having some ethnic clashes here and there. How should the issue of religion here? Because you see, the point is that those people that are perpetrating these crimes or undertaking these terror activities, in one way or the other, belong to a certain religious group.
Yeah.
So I will want to see that should the fact that somebody belongs to one religious group or the other, and the person feels marginalized and wants to press home his or her demand, would the person be tagged as a religious terrorist?
Yeah, so that is a question. Those fighters, at the end result, what are they looking for? Okay, so causes. What are the causes of their actions? They are causes of their violence. And you realize that the causes of their violence are political, they are social, they are economic, and they are religious. You get the whole thing. And entirely it's not to impose their beliefs and practices on others. You understand? And it all starts because either we have not been able to develop society to meet the demands of everyone. Okay, and these minorities are finding ways to fight for that cause. Or probably they want to control a region or a geographical area, and they have not given that, they have not been given that room.
So they use religion.
They use religion.
So they mobilize themselves around religion.
So the fact is that they could use guns to do whatever they are doing. They could use all other weapons to do whatever they are doing. But they need to mobilize. And to mobilize, they use religion.
Okay, so they are seeing religion more or less from an inherent perspective that people are so much indebted to it.
Yes.
And for that matter, they use same people to get them to their side in fighting their own either political, social, or economic.
Whether we like it or not, in Islamic religion, okay, there are sheer majority of Muslims who don't believe what terrorists are doing are the just cause. Okay, it is not a rightful way of getting things done.
Okay.
You understand? Okay. But from the security point of view, you could realize that they are just using the religion, they are using Islam, they are using Quran and all that to get their political ends. Yes, so religion is not an end, it's not an end in itself for them. It's just a means to an end for them.
Thank you very much on that note. I mean, you have done you have elaborated the point for us. But more for us, coming to you, and I want to come to you from an Islamic scholarly point of view in making us understand how issue of nationalism, how issue of maybe the practice of Marxists or any other ideological underpinnings as far as terrorism is concerned. And here I'm stretching on the word terrorism because the issue of afflicting people with that kind of fear, with that kind of distraction, with that kind of killings, in order to get a certain economic or press home a certain economic demand or political demand or whatever. Should that be the case, in as much as we are saying that religion is the mobilizing force, should we stand on that?
Yes, so religion is the mobilizing force because the followers of the religion are not well educated about their own religion. Okay. And that drives them to listen to what a person stood as a motivational speaker and said to them, and because they don't know their religion, they said what this person has said, we would follow him as he has said. But when you look at the Arab society where the Prophet of Islam came, you would realize that that society was a very nationalist kind of society, where every tribe, the ego of every tribe was so big that the history books tell us that one war, which lasted for 40 years, was because a tribe had killed the camel of a visitor who had come from a different tribe. So this, us against them, led to a war for 40 years. So that society knew of all this concept maybe more than any other society. But the Holy Quran has set the fundamentals here. It says that وَالْفِتْنَةُ أَشَدُّ مِنَ الْقَتْلِ. That is, that disorder is worse than killing, because disorder would lead to hundreds of deaths. So stop it on the first stage. Wherever you see disorder starting, takes 10 action there before it escalates and becomes a source of hundreds of people dying. And then the Holy Quran says that was sulhu khair, that even if your rights are being taken from you, but know that there is a hereafter and you will be given the reward of it. So try to resort to peace. That even if you realize that what is being done to you is wrong, but for the sake of God and for the sake of the peace of society, do not start any kind of chaos in the land. And just coming in with this, and the Holy Quran gives another example, that there would be a group of people who would die in the condition that they are those who are mischievous.
Okay.
And then they would present such excuses that it was my land, all these kind of excuses. And God would tell them that the land of God was wide enough and vast. Why did you not migrate from that land instead of causing disorder? So if it gets to a level which is just beyond your human control, then like the Prophet of Islam, leave that place and go to a different land. And then it comes down that it is my country, it is my... So the Holy Quran says that we have created different colors, different creeds, different tribes, just to create a distinction that this person is from this place. So though you should love your country, but if it becomes a place that is unbearable, do not start a new kind of disorder.
Okay, I want to do a follow-up on that. When you mentioned the hereafter, and the hereafter means that it's when we are gone from this earth. So we are so the resurrection comes in here. And then you also made mention of the fact that motivational speakers, so because of beliefs system, or because of the belief system, somebody sees you talking, and then he believes so much in you that whatever that you say, whether to the person, whether it is good or bad, I mean, that is it. And so they don't even give it a second thought. Now, I have heard some motivational speakers say that, why is it that, or have you seen somebody die and come back to tell us what is there in the next world? And so everything is in this world now. and that, don't you think that also presupposes that people, based on this, will want to now get whatever that they want or how they want to feel as far as social, advancements and development, because they want to get it here and now. And so if the person economically feel marginalized, and then he needs to advance his or her cause, and then religion become that mobilizing force, don't you think that they are now going to stand on, and that basis, religion then become like the bedrock or the force with which they use to advance their cause? Would they be wrong?
Yes.
In that context?
The first thing is the Holy Quran says that Allah has created that a judge deep in everybody. Okay. That when you commit an evil, there will be a first instinct that will tell you what I've done is wrong. But mostly we do not listen to that and we continue. And that force or that judge has been given to every person. It is in the heart of every person. When you are doing evil or good, it counts for a second. If you listen to it, you are fine. If you don't, that's up to you. Okay. But the other thing is that if you look at the concept of justice in this world, and you don't believe in the hereafter, you can never understand it. The reason I'm saying so is, for example, great atrocities were committed against the Jews in the last century. Now, one person committed those crimes. He killed millions of people, millions of Jews, unjustly, without any justified reason whatsoever. And now the person dies. So, can you say that that person who killed millions was given justice in the world? He did what he wanted to do and he's gone. Now, if you don't believe in the concept of hereafter, the person lived a luxurious life. It is only the concept of hereafter that can give you some contentment of the heart, that I have a God who would pay this person for the wrongdoing he did to me. Because in the world he destroyed millions of families. Now you cannot kill that person millions of times. It is only the hereafter, and I know that let me leave this issue to God. He would deal with him more sternly than any worldly power can ever do. And this is what the Holy Quran stresses, that if you see any unjust behavior and you know that tackling it would cause hundreds to die, it's best to migrate from that land. Because your tribe, your religion, your caste, your culture, it's only to differentiate you. It's an element to make you distinct. But the land of God is vast. Move to a different land and practice what you can there.
Thank you very much on that. I mean, this is very deep, right? Now let me come back to you and ask that. So within this context, I mean, we have talked about nationalism. We know how it plays. We've talked about religion, how it plays. I want to ask you, I mean, very practically, what then can that same tool, which more or less has become imperative in committing heinous crimes, can also be used in averting it, so that we avoid this? Because he has explained that, you know, and from when he speaks, you know, it becomes like more or less, you know, I'm looking at the religiosity and then the faith and then because a lot of people do not in recent times even believe in the hereafter, you know, and so that in itself becomes a problem. So they feel that they need to get whatever that they want here and now. They don't care what happens when they die. And so they will want to do everything wherever to be able to get that thing that you want. So practically, and then giving us, then this is a security solution that I'm asking from you, how we are supposed to use the same tool in averting this terrorism that we are experiencing.
I think we need to be developmental. Okay. Religion ought to be developmental. Okay. The different types of religion we have, they ought to have policies for development. Okay, in addition to the state's developmental projects and programs.
So when we talk about are we talking about infrastructure, or we are talking about the human, developing the human resource?
The human development.
Okay.
So we should be more of a human security base than militaristic in our approach in resolving some of this violence. So in a human security approach, religion could be used, okay, as a form of a development in terms of education, okay, education, and education here is not only about educating their members on the dangers of terrorism and how terrorism has become an illegitimate use of force against others or killing, okay, but also educating them of how to prevent terrorism, educating them on the test, okay, the test that those violence those people are using, how they're interpreting them. You understand?
So you are talking about the various ideological underpinnings. How it will be like the way Movi Faraz is talking about it. Be able to explain it better to the people.
For people to understand.
Okay. But do you think that I mean the religious settings have not been able to do that?
They have been doing that. But of course there's so much misunderstanding when it comes to the test. And it shouldn't be only in it shouldn't only be Islam or Muslims.
Yeah, of course, Arabs. We are talking about religion in general.
We are talking about religion in general. Yeah. So among the Christians, whether you like it or not, there's people who believe that violence has its place in Quran or the beliefs and practices of Islam.
Yeah.
But that's not the case.
Yeah.
So how can we get those people to understand that Islam is peace, education?
So that we'll be able to still remove that misconception.
So that people cannot sit there when they see a terrorist attack and all what they will conclude on is what? Either Islam or Arabs or what have you.
Okay.
But Islam is not violence.
Okay.
Islam is not extremism.
Okay.
Islam is not fundamentalism. Okay. Islam is just any other religion for peace.
Okay.
You understand? Okay. So education, developmental, that has to do with infrastructure, getting the needed social needs and social facilities for people. Okay. If you go to northern Nigeria, I haven't been there, but with the pictures that I have seen, the place is deplorable. Why won't people take arms against what authorities?
So they feel marginalized.
They feel marginalized. So provision of social amenities are very important.
Okay.
So even in Ghana, like I said, the issues, what are happening now, the hardship that people are feeling, you understand? If care is not taken, it becomes a recruitment ground for some of these terrorist organizations.
Thank you
because
very much on that.
We are not developmental enough.
Mobsab, seriously from the last point that he's making, and I get a feeling that not to sort of undermine any groupings, but we see almost like in various continents when they talk about the north, there seems to be the people that are more or less underdeveloped, they are marginalized, the poverty levels are high, and all of that. And we also find out that most of them, however, whether it's coincidental or what, we see them becoming more of the Muslim sect. And so don't you think that they are right in making rightful demand of what they deserve, though they are Muslims? They are Muslims. Don't you think that they are right in making that rightful demand? Are we going to see that one as the fact that they are using religion?
The Quran lays 4 fundamental rights that every person should be, 4 fundamental amenities that should be provided for every person in the land. That is food, water, shelter, and clothing. That these are the fundamental rights of every person, and it makes it a state responsibility that these 4 rights should be given to every person in the world or in that society. And the Islamic society, when they were treading on the path of the Quran after the Prophet passed away, these 4 amenities were given to everybody. They were made sure it is being provided. But one other thing that should come to mind is that yes, it is true, the lands where people are deprived, they don't have such basic amenities, but how comes they have so much sophisticated weapons? These weapons are not manufactured there. Those countries don't even have the industries to put up that structure, that hundreds of millions of dollars structure. It is definitely coming from somewhere. So the root cause of all this is not Islam, is not that society. It is the political and the geographical location of the place that has made it of strategic importance. And that is why I like and I want people to read this book, World Crisis and Pathway to Peace. This is a compilation of the different addresses of our Khalifa, where he has talked about justice. I would like, it is available on our website for free. People can download and read at islam.org. That's, we need to look at the root cause. These countries don't manufacture these weapons. They are being provided. And such teachings which are not Islamic is given to them in the name of Islam, which is not again Islamic. So again, we need to look at justice from every angle. And then he makes a very good point that sometimes whenever aid is being given, strings are attached. And once you don't fulfill those attached strings, then these kind of riots and disorders occur in that land, which is wrong. So we must condemn disorder and injustice at every stage and tell them that it has nothing to do with any religion in the world.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I mean, this brings us to yet another edition of the Security Dialogue. I have in my hand this wonderful book, as you can see. The title is World Crisis and the Pathway to Peace by the head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community worldwide, Mizar Masroor Ahmed. And this is a collection of some of his speeches that we have put together to show you how Islam, and for that matter Ahmadiyya, is advancing the cause of peace and security in the world. And on this basis, we tell you that the basic needs of every individual as enshrined and as we have been told by Movi Faraz is that there has to be the provision of food, there has to be the provision of water, shelter, and clothing. And these are the basic developmental needs of every society. And when a society or a group of people feel marginalized, there is that imperativeness of action to make sure that they press home their demand. And that is the question we ask. Would that mean that if that group belongs to a certain religious group, it means that they are using religion to press home their demand, or they are being justified in pressing their demands, pressing home their demands in the state of nationalism? That is a question for you and I to answer. But when it comes to religion and when it comes to Islam, Islam is peace, and peace is what we are preaching on the Security Dialogue. And that is what will move the world and make the world a better place for each other. So I want to encourage our viewers out there. You can visit the website alislam.com, .org. You can visit our website. If you also follow us on Muslim Television Ahmadiyya International, we have our social media handles. We have the display of our telephone numbers. If you have any question to ask the community, we have our people ready 24 hours to answer your call. But I want to recommend this book for you to read. It's a very educative book. I want to recommend it for you to read. And so on that note, we say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I've been your host on the Security Dialogue, Sadiq Educhum. Thank you till we meet again, same time on the Security Dialogue.